I wanted to make money. I have content girls, and we did the tax returns for NFL players. You can never talk to the IRS. I've never met a white guy like me before. Everybody thinks they're going to jail and everything. And what people don't know is, I'm Mike Fedele. I came to South Beach because I knew that there were a lot of high net worth athletes and entertainers who had many serious IRS problems. I did a lot of videos showing the things that I do for clients, even getting on the phone with the IRS, getting on the phone with clients, and also videos that my clients did, success stories that are tied into my website. But then it's become clear to me, what really happened is people started hating on me for my hair.
Right.
And to be really honest with you, at first I was surprised because I guess because I have hair, I don't think much about my hair.
Right.
And I was absolutely blown away at how many young people were saying, "Oh, take off the toupee, Grandpa."
Right.
Who's your plastic surgeon, Grandpa? And you've got hair of a 15-year-old and a face of a 75-year-old. Okay,
people are very brave.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're keyboard warrior brave, right? Yeah, they could get on the keyboard. And at first, I'm like, what? Like, this is my real hair. No, it isn't, and you're just lying. So then I posted a video and said, okay, we're going to turn this into a wager.
Right.
Okay? My 500,000 to your 500,000. Anybody.
Yeah, how sure are you?
There you go. So let's meet somewhere. Let's turn this into a wager. Let's turn it into money for either you or for me. And you can bring in your lawyer, your doctor, your girlfriend, anybody you want. And in fact, let's go a step further. I'll cut off all my hair. Now, I'll do that for $1 million because I'm not just going to, and then we'll grow it back. And if it doesn't grow back, you get $1 million plus the $1 million you gave me. Or if it does grow back, I get another $1 million. How's that? So I'll cut it off I'm not doing it unless I get the $1 million. But hey, if you're right, and it isn't my real hair, you're going to get that $1 million plus another $1 million. How about that? You think anybody took me up on it? Of course not. And then they were saying, well, now we think it's real, but you're coloring it. So, I just got all that. So that's how it started. And then hate for other things. Oh, you're not really 5'7", you're 4'11".
Oh, listen, I'm because I'm 5'6", so I get it all the time.
Yeah,
all the time. I even had a chick show up here the other day. She walked in the door, was talking to Colby, and I stood up and walked over to her. Was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" She turned to me. She's, "Oh, wow." She's, "I had no idea you were so short." It's the first thing she said to me, and I went, "Oh, okay." I said, "She's like, no, I mean, I just didn't expect you to be 4'11".
What?
Like, what? I'm like, I'm 5'6". She's like, okay, sure you are. I mean,
yeah.
It was like, it's a whole, and she during the whole podcast, like, was making comments. It was super funny because I'm used to it. So,
and then I started giving it back to him. I said, you know what, your parents failed you. If you could get on here, so I started giving it to the Gen Zs and millennials big time. So your parents failed you. And then I had weightlifting gloves on in an Italian restaurant. I had weightlifting gloves on, and they're like, "What are you, a stupid or whatever?" I said, "So let me get this straight. You guys care about my weightlifting gloves, but you're vaping every day. You're smoking. You're drug addicted. You got tattoos everywhere. And you worry about my weightlifting gloves? Like, why don't you get your life together?" So I started giving it back to them, and then they started hating on me more.
Right.
And now,
which really only helps the videos.
Yeah, which I didn't know, Mike. And so my social media manager, Carlos, I don't know if you met him. He's like, "Mike, we got to continue this." And my hate was blowing up more than what I wanted. I wanted like clients. Now I've ended up getting a lot of clients in through all this, kind of in a odd sort of way because of the videos that are going viral. Like that one that you saw of Alexa and me. She's on my content team. In fact, she's here in South Beach. They talk. Oh, so you're paying a hooker to be in a Rolls Royce with you, and she's got fake boobs, and just everything, all the kind of hate you could imagine.
Right.
And so
listen, as long as they're watching.
They're watching.
Yeah.
So I went 2.7 million viable, and that was just like Carlos literally said, "Hey, get in back of the Rolls Royce and let me do this quick video." That was that one. It wasn't even like, we didn't even plan it really.
Right.
It just like happened. And I've gotten people who are business are like, that is the greatest commercial I've ever seen. Then I got on yachts and I got 12 hot girls, 15 hot girls to ask tax questions. Like nobody's going to look at me talking to another older guy about tax questions. Nobody,
Yeah.
But I got 1 million views on that.
Right.
Just hot chicks asking like, what's the difference between a W-2 and a 1099, Mike? That's it.
Yeah.
And then I answered a question, 1 million on that particular video. And so I realized where I was missing the boat because I had a lot of success stories on my website. Nobody looked at them.
Yeah.
Nobody. Now, not only that, I am literally getting new client, what we call data input requests. I'm getting 2 a day. 2 new potential clients a day just on that, sometimes 5. My office is like going crazy trying to, put all these new clients together and, put them into our software and everything and respond to them. So, and I'm answering new clients every day on my phone. Like I'm texting them, all the time. They're coming in like crazy because, like you said, the haters and getting hot chicks on your boat. Anyway, that's what I do. That's what I do. I do all this content stuff.
Let's start with where were you born? What was your, what were your parents like? What was your childhood like, right?
Well,
I'm assuming you didn't rob any banks, so let's go.
Yeah. I got close a few times though, but me and my brothers were real truants. We were real rascals, but my brother Gino. But I grew up in the New York City area, old school Italian. My brother Gino is my older brother, my sister Linda, and my younger brother Anthony, Tony.
Gino and Tony. Those aren't Italian names.
Yeah, so Gino and Tony. Gino Senior is my father, Gino, and then my grandfather's Gino also. Okay.
Wow. All right.
So so he came in from my great grandfather came in from Calabria, Italy, in the late 1890s. Interesting story, real quick here, is a lot of people don't know that Al Capone was a gangster in New York before he was in Chicago. Actually, he grew up in Brooklyn, New York City. His father came in around the same time as my great-grandfather. They came from a different area. He was, I believe, coming from northern side of Italy. Turns out that my great-grandfather and Al Capone's father were very good friends. And a family story, which I believe because, my family has a few stories, and this is one of them. We were connected. We were connected. My grandfather was connected. He was part of an Italian family, as my uncle was, but not my father. My father wanted nothing to do with it. He felt it was the mafia was a black mark on Italians. So my father wanted nothing to do with it, but my grandfather was connected and my uncle Ralph was connected. He ran a fish store and my grandfather ran a butcher shop. And, the story, one of the stories is, he had a lot of competitors and all of a sudden one day he didn't have any competitors. And but the story I'm telling you about is the family story is that my great-grandfather hid Al Capone and 3 of his truant gangsters from, I want to say it was the 5th, they called them the 5th Side Gang, I believe.
They had a little gang. He started off as kind of like a little thug, like a gangster. I don't mean like a gangster like we think. He was like a gang, like a little street guy. They were robbing.
He had a number of different little ones, but then it was called the 5th Side Gang, I believe it was called. It was a little bit of a bigger gang. And when he was part of that is when my great-grandfather, for 4 months, hid him in his cellar. Or we might not know the Al Capone that we know. He hid him. Yep, hid
why
him.
Why did he hide him? He was in trouble?
He
like
was
the
in
cops
trouble.
were looking for?
These guys, listen, from what I was told, Al Capone, these were dangerous kids. They were killers. Yeah. They would fist fight. They would kill. Okay? And so they were involved in with knives. They were involved with gambling.
Yeah, that's how he was in that gang. He was like a teenager when he got the scar.
They were doing all that stuff. They were involved in prostitution, bootlegging. In fact, I was told through the family. My father told me that they would stuff ballots for the politicians. Mm-hmm. They just stuffed ballots, and they paid them. So this is what they did. And so, yeah, that's a true story, the family story, that Al Capone was saved by my great-grandfather, or we might not know the Al Capone today.
You know what nobody tells you about dinner? It never stops. Every day around 5 o'clock, it rolls around again. HelloFresh doesn't make you a better cook. It gives you your nights back. For me, the hard part wasn't not cooking. it was deciding what to make. HelloFresh fixes that. The food comes pre-portioned, the recipe cards are easy to follow, and dinner is ready in 30 minutes. Here's how it works. They have over 100 recipes every week to choose from. You pick what sounds good, the portions are big, so everyone feels full. On busy nights, having a meal ready like this makes things easier. And the food tastes great. You can get steak and seafood at no extra cost. There are more seafood choices than before, plus high protein, Mediterranean, and GLP-1 friendly meals. What you get back is more than dinner. You get time, you get energy, you can sit down and eat instead of rushing in the kitchen. I use HelloFresh, and you should too. Go to HelloFresh.com/ITC10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free knife at a $144.99 value on your third box. Offer valid while supplies last. Free meals applied as a discount on your first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
When we were kids, this is one of the key stories when I was a kid. He was telling me I should tell this story. So I want to make it clear, like, we weren't criminals, me and my brother.
Right.
But okay.
We did steal things.
We did. Okay. We did. And we did it in the context of, like, for us, like, the winters were so long and the summers were so short when I was a kid. I say to people so often, I wish I could have given my kids my childhood. I had a great childhood. We were out in the streets, fishing, hunting, catching snakes, turtles. We were just, always doing something, climbing trees like you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And one day, there's this police impound lot that was about half a mile from my house. And I was probably 8. My brother was probably 10. And here we are just, poking around in regular summer day, and we get to thinking, and we saw and we were with one of the, by the way, me and my brother were really good athletes, and there was nobody like in our high school. He was by the way, let me back up. My brother was a nationally ranked 800-meter runner in the United States in 1978. Okay. Like top 10. And I was a really good athlete as well. I could run 100 yards in under 11. Okay. Not 100 meters, 100 yards. That was really fast. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we were fast. We were like the fastest kids around. And we had this kid, Steven Johnson, and he was with us one day, and at the police impound, we found a crease in the fence. And so we're seeing all this stuff in the cars, and so we get in and we're poking around, and we got a pillowcase that we're putting stuff in. And all of a sudden, we see these dogs that they let out. They knew that somebody was inside. And this is a police impound lot,
right?
Okay, and we're stealing stuff. We're stealing like watches and balls and coins and monies in there. Because when they impound a vehicle, they don't take anything out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take it out, right? So we're taking this stuff out. We're putting it. It's money. It's all this jewelry. Everything like rings and watches and necklaces. So all of a sudden, they let these dogs out, and I was too far in. My brother got through the fence again, and he took off. And he's running through the forest, and I go under a car immediately. And so this kid, Steven Johnson, he's slow. I don't know what happened to either of them. Right. I'm under the car. I stayed under for 4 hours until they closed because the dogs were going to get me.
Did the dogs know you were there?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
I didn't make a peep, man. Okay. So they finally closed up, and then they put the dogs inside. So I finally, after that, I got out. 4 hours underneath the car, maybe even a little longer. I get out, go, and it's closed. Nobody's there anymore. It's like 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever it was. And I get through the fence again, and I got this 2 sacks of stuff. I mean, I stayed there longer to get more stuff, right? It's like I'm this little kid, but I'm hauling it home about a half a mile. I get home, and lo and behold, I go through the back door. I'm like, hey, everybody, guess what I got? And there's 2 cops.
But they caught your brother?
Yeah, they caught the slow kid, Steven Johnson, whose father made him tell on us. And it turns out that my mother's high school friends were the 2 cops. They let me go. But that's a true story. So I could have been in a lot of trouble for that. But we were those kind of kids.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to I wasn't a mean kid like trying to hurt people.
Right.
We just did it out of adventure and, just trying to find something to do, So me and my brother were caddies. That's what we did, and I helped put myself through college as a caddy. Well, we caddied at a place called Willow Ridge Country Club in Harrison. And my brother was so fast, as I told you, that a guy named Nick Rattini, who was a mafia hitman, who was a honorary member. He was an Italian guy, but he was an honorary member of a Jewish country club.
Okay.
Okay, how that happened, I don't know. We were just kids. And Nick Rattini would ask for my brother to caddy for him every time because my brother was capable of getting balls really fast and getting them out of the woods wherever he put them. And they were gambling on the course, Nick and all of his Italian guys. And he had a bodyguard with him all the time. And if you look him up, Nick Rattini, he was one of the top guys in New York that was a confirmed mafia hit guy.
Okay.
And so, yeah, he was a confirmed mafia hit guy. And so that was the guy that my brother caddied for. And he caddied for him like 6 or 7 years. And he paid my brother like $200 a loop, which was unheard of. But they were they were doing whip out, which is on every hole. They would whip out 1,000, 2,000 on every hole just to bet. Another story was my brother and I were on a boat. We would go out. My uncle Ralph, who was connected to the mob, he had his own fish store and he was connected. He would take us out on his boat along with some of the mafia guys. Sometimes there would be 5 or 6 of them, and my father. Even though my father was not, didn't want any part of it, but he was on the boat with us. And I never forget hearing those guys talk about whacking people,
Right.
and whores. So I get home with my father after, being on the boat. I'm just like 10 years old. And I said, hey, Daddy, what does it mean to whack somebody? And what is a whore?
Right.
And he said, well, she's a woman that sells her own body, And to whack, he says, don't worry about it, son. Don't worry about it. It means to whack people. It doesn't mean anything. A true story.
When you were a kid growing up, is that so you're in an Italian neighborhood? I mean, what are you thinking you're going to do for a living? You're thinking, I'm going to be an accountant.
I wanted to be I liked animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian. And my father wanted me to be a doctor. But when I went to school, I went to College State University of New York at Albany. I didn't really like school much, but I was really smart. I did well on the standardized tests, and I got into SUNY Albany, which is like a poor man's Ivy League school in New York. And when I got there, I got serious. I said, I got to get serious with the academics. So I was pre-med, didn't like it, and took business courses, and ended up graduating from the business school with a degree in accounting. And
what happened to being a vet?
I just, I was pre-med, and it was going to be the
you
doctor
didn't like
thing.
it. It's going to be the same.
It's
going to be
what really happened is when I got into college and then I got out of the pre-med program, first of all, one of the reasons I got out, I should mention this, is because I realized, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like 28, 29 before making any real money. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make money. My father was an old school Italian. I love my father to death. He's passed away. He's been gone since 2011. He was a great father, a great man. Taught us how to play basketball, baseball, football. He worked so hard, but he always had time for us. We'd throw ball to us in the backyard when he finished his job. He worked for Sperry Univac, and he was a computer tech on the old 1180 system, the mainframes. That's what my father did. Went into Manhattan every day on the train for 25 years, and then eventually he worked in White Plains, but every day on a train. He showed me, and he modeled before me and my brothers a great work ethic.
Right.
Okay? That's the climate I grew up in, and he was a man's man, but he was compassionate, and he was a family man, and he stayed married to my mother, forever. So that's how I grew up, and then I went to college. I wanted to make money.
Right.
I loved my father. Never forget. I was 17 years old. I said, "Papa, I want to get rich." He said, "I believe in you, son." You know what? I tell people that's all I needed from my father. All I needed from my father is to say to me, "I believe in you." And that was it. That's all I needed. And I hit the ground running. I'm like, if I get out of here at age 22, I could get a job with a good accounting firm and I could start making real money, which is exactly what happened. And I ended up working for Ernst & Winnie, who is now Ernst & Young.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of
I've heard of Ernst & Young.
Okay, they're a big four firm, one of the biggest ones in the world. Well, I was with Ernst & Winnie in New York City, And I was with them in the tax department. I actually did the tax returns for I was in the IFFM department, Individual, Family, and Financial Management. I did the tax return for New York Senators, for the New York Yankees, when they had like Chris Chambliss, I want to say, some of the old school New York Yankees, Thurman Munson, I believe, we even did his. So, we're talking a long time ago, 30 plus years ago. And so we did the tax returns for high net worth people in New York City. And that's how I started off. And
How long did you work there?
I was with Ernst about 5 years. Then I left there into the financial audit department of Price Waterhouse, which is another Big Four firm. Now it's Price Waterhouse Coopers. And I was with them for 6 years in the financial audit department. So I learned the tax side and I learned the financial audit side with two different firms, which really kind of completed the kind of experience that you needed to eventually, then after that, I went off into my own firm. I started my own firm, which I've had now for 30 plus years.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you start that? I mean,
what happened was I got recruited for the New Homes for Chicago program. After I had a short stint in North Carolina, and I was engaged I was 29 at the time. I was engaged to a 19-year-old girl. That didn't work out. She was like a young kid, and I was a really serious young man making money. So that didn't work out. When that didn't work out, I got recruited for the New Homes to Chicago program under the Clinton administration. The Clintons were giving Chicago an incredible amount of money for the new schools, all the buildings and everything. And so I got recruited to run that program from a financial standpoint through an executive recruiter. When I got here, I finished that program around 1994, 95 is when I started my own firm. So right around 30 years ago, when I finished that program, I just stayed in Chicago. I didn't go back to New York. And I was in Chicago, built my own firm with a lot of the subcontractors that we're using for that program. I got a good reputation. One of the things that did happen, though, was interesting, and that really catapulted me was I found close to a $20 million fraudulent, a $20 million fraud with Walsh Construction. I was doing work for a company called Craftstone Tuck Pointing in Chicago. And Craftstone Tuck Pointing was the biggest Hispanic tuck pointing company in the city at that time. And they were just getting all kinds of work. Well, Walsh Construction used them, and they issued change orders to the city and didn't pay them. Under the Freedom of Information Act, I found that out. It was almost $20 million. They ended up settling, and as part of the deal with Craftstone Tuck Pointing, I made $4 million off of that, and that was the biggest payday of my life at the time. It just put me into a different category, and after that, I got a reputation in Chicago. A lot of the contractors and subcontractors wanted to use my services, and my firm was off and running. And I finished that program. My firm was off and running, and I stayed there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of got to where I was in my accounting, my accounting field.
I mean, is it set up where you hired? It's an accounting firm. I mean, do you have how many accountants?
Yes.
Do you have? Is the bulk of the way it's made up bookkeepers?
No. We have other CPAs.
They call them bookkeepers.
Yeah, we have some bookkeepers, but I don't just hire regular bookkeepers. I hire people with an accounting degree. Because they bring theory, not just to practice. Although I could train somebody to be an accountant who just got their enrolled agent and passed their enrolled agent exam, I could turn you into an accountant. Because the bottom line is, what you learn in college, you don't know anything until you actually get out in the field. And many professions are like that, not just mine. But believe me, most of these kids have not even done a tax return. They haven't even done a bank reconciliation, and they're walking out. But I hire intelligent people with a good work ethic. So my top 3 managers, we have about 15 people, but I can get independent contractors if I need more, okay? My top 3 managers are Asian, Chinese, and Vietnamese. They're all cold-blooded assassins. They are absolutely unbelievable cold-blooded killers in terms of the work. All they do is work.
One of my favorite scenes is, have you ever seen the Big Short? Did you ever see The Big Short?
Yeah.
Where he's like, am I sure of the math? He's like, look, this is my quantive or whatever.
Yeah.
Look at him. You noticed anything? He's Asian.
Exactly. They get done. My top 3 tax managers all came in with no experience. Okay.
All right.
They're all making the kind of money that they would make with a Big Four firm. They're doing very well.
Right.
They don't make mistakes. They get 10 times the amount of work that an American gets done in a given week. And they don't make mistakes. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. All they do is work. Most of the time, Americans, and I've been through this, they're on their phone, they're texting and sexting their boyfriend, their girlfriend. Oh, you have to watch them. I have cameras everywhere. When I go away, I'm like, oh, here they are. They're looking at YouTube videos again. Not the Asians, man. They are serious about their lives. They are serious about the work. And I have a really great staff now. It's been hard to put something like that together because it's hard finding quality help. But you have to pay people well. And I believe in hiring somebody with two things: really superior intelligence and a superior work ethic. And we have that right now.
I have a job. I
You can't do it.
appreciate it.
You can't. Yeah.
So we were going to talk about interesting cases you've come across.
So I did a full field audit for an internet marketer. I'll call him John. He came to me through a referral of someone else I did a full field audit for. A full field audit, by the way, is a full field IRS audit where you get a request. It's called an IDR, Information Document Request. And they're coming in and they're going to look at everything, all the books. You can get what's called a correspondence audit or a limited audit, but this is a full field audit, which means they want to see everything, okay? All your books and records, everything, all your income, and they want to meet with you.
For a given time period,
Yeah,
right?
well, for usually a year or 2 years.
Okay.
Okay? In this case, it was 3 years. I knocked him down from owing around $1.4 million to $200,000. From him, I got a referral to a guy in Vegas who was also involved in internet marketing.
What had he done wrong?
It's not that he did anything wrong. He had an accountant that did not put all his books and records together properly. He wasn't able to do a lot of extra deductions. In addition to that, his accountant did not know that he had net operating loss carrybacks because he lost money in a couple of years after that we were able to carry back. You can't do that anymore. The Internal Revenue Code is changed now. Okay, the regs are different. You can't carry back losses. But back then, in 2008, you could carry back losses. So I carried back losses that he had in his business for 2 years. I carried him all the way back. Plus, the bookkeeping wasn't done correctly. He had all kinds of deductions, that traveling expenses, a lot of expenses for computers, networking expenses that were not done adequately. So we knocked him down from 1.2 to around 200,000.
Okay.
All right?
Right.
Took a long time, but that was the end result. Well, he was giving us referrals to all his people in the internet marketing business. So we came in. I got a call from a guy in Vegas who was somebody that was working for this guy. He was the top, what I was told at the time, programmer, top 5 in the world programmer for internet marketing. What does that mean? What is that? Yeah, I had to learn that. It means the guy who is doing the programming for, let's say you go on the internet, you fill out a form like for a doctor or a new dentist or an auto mechanic. Like you're going to fill out a form looking for somebody. When you fill out that form, it goes somewhere. Somebody pays for that. They pay for you to fill out the form, right? The doctor pays for it, or the medical practice, or the dentist pays for it, what have you, or an insurance company. They pay to have those forms filled out. A marketing company. That marketing company has, they pay the programmer who programmed it. They pay the actual marketing company that's helping to market it. So there's several different people that make money off of, let's say, that $50 form that gets paid for. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that guy is doing, millions of them a month. He might be making, $1.20 off of every one of those forms that's filled out, but he's going worldwide. So he was making around $3 million a month, like just himself. He hadn't set up an LLC. He hadn't set up anything. We're doing it in 2008. And so we get called in. I get called in.
Was he going through an audit or
He was going through an audit. He was going through a full field audit for 3 years.
Okay.
But it was worse than that.
Right.
So they dropped a downstroke on me for $40,000 because I said, I need a downstroke if you guys want me to come to Vegas. Went to Vegas. dropped 40 grand on me. I said, these people are serious. Got on a plane first time, went to Vegas. I get in this house, all these people are standing around the kitchen. They're like his entourage, but they're all like, just getting paid by him because he's the guy that's rich.
Yeah.
I said, where's Jeff? And they said, oh, he's downstairs. Literally, you get down there. He's this overweight guy, he's 300 pounds, literally eating a bag of Cheetos and corn chips, and he's at a computer. Like, he's the picture of a guy, and he's a genius.
Right.
And he's there programming and making money. First thing he turns to me and says, yeah. I said, who are those people? He says, yeah, well, there's just people that are kind of feeding off of me, and, I don't believe in anybody except my father and Jesus, and they're both dead. That's the first thing he says to me.
Then get rid of them.
Get rid of them. But, there are people
Yeah.
that are on his team. He's getting an audit, not just a full field audit, but he already has other agents in Las Vegas that have identified money that he gave to people. Particularly, he had about 10 girlfriends that he was buying cars for, Lamborghinis, Maseratis, houses for, okay? And he's this, overweight guy, and, it's the only way we can obviously get girls is the money.
Yeah.
And so he was not only getting a full field audit, but they were attempting to seize these assets because the IRS has seizure rights under Code Section 6332. They can seize assets of a third party if they believe that those assets, the cash that you used to buy those assets was cash that you should have used to pay them. Make sense?
Yes.
So they can seize third-party assets if they believe it was a fraudulent transfer, which would be a fraudulent transfer. Why? Because the IRS is saying, this is our money.
Right.
Okay? So I'm being brought in not only to do a full field audit, but to help get these people out of this. In addition to that, his parents, he had sent them around $2 million. That was complicated because his parents, they were trying to seize the assets, this $2 million that was sent to his parents. So the very first order of business I was asked to do from this guy, Jeff, is you got to get my parents out of this seizure. So I focused on that. I was able to do that because I was able to establish the fact that they had assets that they used to buy some of this real estate in California. He was in Vegas. He was wiring them money in California. And I was able to get them out of that seizure. But then the IRS wanted him to report that as a gift to his parents, which we were able to get out of because we essentially called it a loan, and we established a loan document with repayments that were being made. So none of that money had to be given back to the IRS. They couldn't seize that because we created essentially a loan and loans that were made and also the loan payments that were being made. So that worked. But in the end of the day, a number of these young ladies, these women, got their assets seized. And in addition to that, he had a party at Caesar's Palace in the penthouse. He dropped because I was now his accountant. He dropped $100 grand for one night in the penthouse. And he had there was 50 to 100 people up there. There's all these young people. And at the time I was 48? I was probably 48 at the time. But they were all easily at least 10 years younger than me. And I'm tired and everything. I'm is there any place to sleep here? Because I'm not going to go back to my hotel. It's really late in the morning. And I just, went into a room. I was basically sleeping on the floor. I've slept on floors many times. I just needed to get rest.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. When you're not resting well, everything else feels harder. Your focus, your mood, even your recovery. GhostBed is here to help you fix that. They've spent decades perfecting how to build a bed that's comfortable, durable, and designed to actually help you rest. Every GhostBed mattress features premier materials, proven cooling technology, and their exclusive ProCore layer, a targeted support system that reinforces the center of the mattress where the body is heaviest. It helps keep your spine aligned and your back supported, so you can wake up ready for anything 2026 throws at you. Each mattress comes with a 101 night sleep trial and a 20 to 25 year warranty, so you can try it risk-free, knowing it's built to last. Shipping is fast and free. Most orders arrive in 2 to 5 days. GhostBed has great prices to begin with, up to 50% off comparable brands. And Inside True Crime listeners can get an extra 10% off site-wide for a limited time. Just go to ghostbed.com/Cox and use promo code Cox at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox, promo code Cox. Upgrade your sleep with GhostBed. The makers of the coolest bed in the world. Some exclusions apply. See site for details.
And then he comes in with like 3 girls that he's screwing, for the rest of the morning. And I'm listening to him screw 3 different girls, and I got up and went back to my hotel, and I went home. And the end of the story is we eventually had to do a lot of additional work, but some of those women did get their assets seized. He got out of. We basically were able to get him as low as we could on those audits because he got 1099s, and we set him up on a payment plan that he ended up paying off, and that's what happened. But a lot of people don't know the third party can get your assets seized as a third party.
Right. So is there like a calculation they use where they say, okay, well, right now we think you owe us $15 million. You currently have $3 million. So, but we know where that money went.
They made an assessment. So
and it went here, here, here. So we're going to go ahead and start seizing these assets.
Yeah.
What if those women? What if they had performed a service like if they actually were like had a legitimate company that was performing a service and they were payments. Instead, he's just gifting them money.
Yeah,
He's
well,
just
they actually, that was one of the arguments that, was attempted to be made, but the problem is there was nothing that they did.
There's no service. Yeah.
Well,
no, but I mean, if it was a legitimate, like they were managers.
Yes, you can. But then they're going to be responsible for reporting the income.
So what if they had already reported the income? But they just took the money and that's it.
Then the answer to that is that's a great question. Then the IRS is getting their money. So, for example, let's take the $400,000 Lamborghini.
Right.
Okay. I don't even like Lamborghinis, by the way. I'd rather I have a 2010 Camaro 6-speed. I love that better. But
right.
The $400,000 Lamborghini. So let's say the IRS says, okay, that Lamborghini was for your services. You're going to have to pay income tax on that money. So the IRS is getting their money either way.
Right.
Now the rate's going to be different. He might get a higher rate.
$100,000 or something
Exactly.
like that. Right.
But in this case, these
and he
girls,
would have 1099. You're saying he never 1099 them. He just bought them an asset and never 1099 them or anything.
Yeah, and it is either a gift or income to them, or then let us seize it back, and he's going to be responsible for it and get rid of it. Otherwise, you're going to be responsible for paying the debt on his taxes that he owes because you have the asset, namely the cash that's been turned into a car that he should have paid. If you don't want to do it that way, you pay the tax. And they're like, no, here, take the car. Mm-hmm. So that the assets were seized. But yeah, you could have done that. That could have been done. But these girls were in such a panic.
Right.
I mean, everybody thinks they're going to jail and everything. And that's it. He did get a 50% fraud penalty as well because of okay. So we were able to negotiate that down as well.
It was better than 5 years in prison.
Yeah, and very rarely does somebody go to jail. If you come to my office, I have a number of cases where people came in with fraudulent tax returns, crying in my office. I had one lady, Diane. She came in with 4 years of tax returns that were getting a full field audit, and she was just a regular nurse with 4 kids. Single mom, and she came in tears, literally in tears, like within the first 2 or 3 minutes. She's like, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. And I had to calm her down. Well, what's going on? Show me the tax return, all 3 years. Might have been 4. Might have been 4 years. The accountant reported like 70 to 80,000 in salon losses for like 4 years. Okay, just to get her an additional 8 or 10,000 back.
Right.
So
yeah, it's fraud. Like that's clear. It's
clearly
clear fraud. Yeah, you didn't.
So
this is not true.
She had gotten the initial IDR, information document request, and a request for a full field audit, and to show up in an IRS office in Chicago. Big time stuff right now.
Sound good.
Okay,
right.
So she comes to my office. And I said to her, I listened to her whole story and I looked at everything. Okay, so the very first thing is if you want me to represent you, to be your POA, power of attorney, you can never talk to the IRS. Okay? You're never going to talk to the IRS. Even if you get a subpoena, you're going to give me that subpoena and you're not going to talk to the IRS. That's fine. Let them subpoena you. Okay? Because she's panicking. Are they going to come and literally put me in jail? I said, no, they're not. They can't do that. Okay? They can't just come and put you in jail like that without due process.
Right.
Okay, so due process is they're auditing you. That's the due process. They want to know, did you really have $70,000 to $80,000 of salon losses for 4 years?
Right.
And you didn't, okay? So I'm going to represent you. They're asking you to show up in this meeting. You're not going to show up at the meeting. I'm going to show up at the meeting. But are they going to arrest me if I don't show up at this meeting? No, they're not. They could subpoena you, though. But don't worry about that, okay? I'm going to take care of this. But you cannot talk to the IRS. Why? Because you might put yourself in a trick bag. And if you lie, my main concern is if you are in a full field audit meeting and there's a manager there and there's a couple of agents there and you lie to them,
Yeah.
that's
charged. Yeah. You
Yeah,
can't
that
lie
is
to a federal agent. These
correct.
They're law enforcement.
exactly. Now you've just perjured yourself. On top of that, you have a fraudulent return.
It's like lying to an FBI agent. Same
You got
thing.
it. So we never want you to be in that position where you're tempted to lie to them because you don't even know what they know. They might ask you a trick question. They already know the answer to it, and they just caught you lying.
Right.
Now you're in real trouble. So you're going to talk. And what can I do? Also, I could buy time. You can't buy any time. If they ask you a question, right then and there, and you know the answer to it, and you don't answer it, and you answer it wrong, that's a problem. But I can buy time. You can't.
Right.
Okay, so I can say, you know what? That's a great question. Let me write that down.
Let me look into this. Talk to my
Exactly.
client. Get those bank statements. You know what? As you mentioned that, I'll be back with you.
Exactly. So
And you also have things come up, and I can't meet next week. I'm booked for the next 3 weeks, and you can push back meetings and responses, and she's kind of
exactly. So now I've had cases like this, but this was an interesting one. So she's like, well, what are we going to do? I said, first of all, let me think about everything. Let me see everything. Let me pull all your IRS transcripts, and let me talk to the IRS agent. Okay. And after doing that, the strategy that I proposed was we're going to fight it a little bit. We're going to fight it a little bit, but we're eventually going to accept the results. Okay. You're going to probably get 100% fraud audit. I mean, a fraud penalty rather. Don't worry. But am I going to jail? I said, no, you're not going to go to jail. Okay. I'm confident of that. Okay. So we accepted the audit results without, too much of a fight, but we did a little pushback. Got the audit results. She ended up owing more than $160,000. That includes all the penalties, fraud penalty, late payment penalty, et cetera. Okay, interest on penalties, all of that. It was around $160,000. And I said, now what we're going to do is we're going to strategize an offer and compromise. She says, what? Yes, we're going to strategize an offer and compromise. And this was my plan all along. We're going to accept the results. But to do that, as a nurse, you cannot be making $140,000. So you're going to have to ask the hospital if you can do no more overtime for the next year. Why? Because I need you making $90,000 with 4 kids. If you're making $90,000 with 4 kids, I can do a successful offer and compromise on you. I can knock $160,000 down to $500.
Is that basically almost poverty? Is it like 4 kids plus her? That's
it gets her. So here's the deal. When you do an offer and compromise, there are 2 things you have to evaluate: the assets and the income. She didn't have any assets to speak of. She had a house, but it was underwater, meaning the IRS takes the house. Let's say it was worth $200,000. They take 80% of value of $200,000, and then they subtract out from the mortgage. Well, she was underwater if you do that. So they took 80% of value.
She still owed $195,000.
Correct.
So shouldn't need to be.
And then they take your income. They add those 2 things together to calculate what's called your reasonable collection potential. Your reasonable collection potential is the amount of debt that you owe the IRS that you could pay back. That's your reasonable collection potential. So we have to get you where your reasonable collection potential is close to 0 with all of the federal limits that are allowed. So you have to calculate your food and miscellaneous, and there's federal limits to that. So even if you're spending $6,000 a month, they're only allowed certain limits to that. Let's say it's $2,800 in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Your housing and utilities, even if you have a $7,000 mortgage, they don't give you $7,000. They just give you, let's say, whatever that allowable limit is depending on where you're living in the country. And it's depending on the city you're living, okay? And let's say that's $2,500. So we give you the allowable limits, which includes transportation, it includes out-of-pocket medical, it includes other things like student loan debt, which she had still, various different expenses, and we calculate your reasonable collection potential. And in her case, it came close to 0. We were able to do an offer and compromise. So she agreed to knock her wages down and not do any overtime for a year. I said, because in order for you to get an accepted offer and compromise, it takes a long time. It takes 9 months to a year, possibly a little longer. So I need you to agree to this for a year. She says, is it legal? Yes, it's legal. You don't have to work this much. You can agree to not do any overtime.
She's got 4 kids.
Exactly. So we took her down to the 90. It was around 92,000 for the year. Later on, the IRS still checks to see that she's making that amount, because the initial filing on the 656 and the 433A, which are the documents that we have to supply, showed that she's only making the 90. So they check it later on to make sure that that's the case, and it was. And we got a successful OIC through. We knocked her down from $160,000 down to $500. Paid it off over 5 months, and she was done.
Jesus.
That was the strategy. That's what I do for people. I strategize how to get them compliant for an offer and compromise.
How long does the IRS have to come back and check?
Once it's done, it's done.
Okay.
But you have to file the next 5 years and pay your taxes, or they can reverse the OIC.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know that, and we make sure that I say, look, let us do your tax for the next 5 years, just to make sure.
Don't fuck around.
Yeah, they'll revoke it. So that is one of the requirements. But yeah, once an OIC is done, it's done. You got a final OIC letter that says, we've accepted your offer. It is an offer to the IRS. We've accepted your offer, and you're done. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of them. If you go to my website, you'd see, I have all those success stories. What I wanted to say, and I'm going to interject this, it's not, I've made a lot of money in this profession, okay?
Right.
I've done very, very well for myself. It's not just about that for me, because people say, I will lay in bed and I will read tax court cases.
Right.
While other people are playing Monsters and Aliens. Like, I'm reading tax court cases, I'm reading code, I'm reading regs, I'm reading revenue rulings. For me, it's a chess game. It's like, I say to people like Bobby Fischer, he played chess. He was great at it. But he made some money at it. But it's like anybody that likes to do anything. Mm-hmm. Like, pick a game you like to play. Pool, whatever it is.
Right.
You're not making money at it, are you? No. Necessarily? I feel the same way when I'm in an IRS audit. It's like a great challenge for me, and I want to do something. I want to take on the hardest problems that no one else can fix.
Right.
That's who I am. If you really want to know who Mike Fedele is, I want those dead in the water problems that every other accountant has walked away from. Give them to me.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Well, I mentioned this yesterday when we were talking to, we interviewed another guy. He did the legal work, and I used to say the best legal work I've ever gotten in my life has been in federal prison from prisoners, because they're not making money. Like,
right.
You're doing it because if Pete's doing a case,
yes,
or Frank is doing, these are guys that worked on my case,
yes,
that got me 12 years off my sentence, by the way.
Wow.
So if they're doing it,
congratulations.
They're doing it because they want to win.
Exactly.
Like, they love the process and doing this and yeah, but they're going to say this. And you know what? If we argue this, there's the only thing they can say is this, and then it's a whole strategy with them. And what they're not doing is saying, give me another $40,000, give me another. They're not trying to pay off their boat and doing it just for the money. They're doing it just for the win. And
yes,
those are the best guys.
Exactly.
So if I could hire, they could go to court for you. It'd be perfect.
I take it. My brother Gina would say this, Mike, you know what it is? You're just like Daddy. You take everything personally. I don't care if you're a $125 tax a client. I take everything personally. When I am in battle, when I am going to war for someone, and it's a battle, it's a war. You're trying to fight for your client legitimately. You're trying to find, tax court cases or, code sections that are going to fight for your client. And, a lot of people don't know this in an audit, in a full field audit, at the end. So somebody might say, I have another case I want to say, but somebody might say, well, but I don't think I could get that as a deduction. Let's say, for example, you have these. I've been in a kind of a little battle with people on Instagram that says, no, you can't. You can't take jewelry and Rolexes as deduction. No, you can. Depends on the business you're in. For example, if you're a music promoter and it's part of your brand to show potential musicians who you are, you have to wear certain clothing. You have to look a certain way, and that is your brand, okay?
Right.
Or if you're actually selling music, like 69, for example. He sells, he has the tattoos, he has the jewelry, he has the clothes, he has the cars. That all is part of his brand. And if you're using it to sell your music to a certain clientele, to a certain audience, you need to look a certain way. And I would argue, even though a lot of accountants would be scared to take those deductions, I would argue them in a full field audit. What people don't know is, even in a full field audit, at the end, you're going to be sitting with a manager or even two managers and an auditor in what we would call a closing meeting, or maybe something before the closing meeting. And you're going to argue your case. In some cases, you're just going to have estimated expenses. In other cases, you're going to have aggressive expenses you took, like, for example, the Rolex. And you're going to make a case for your client under Section 162A, which is ordinary and necessary business expenses are allowable as a deduction. Ordinary means common in your profession. Like for a music producer or a musician, jewelry and tattoos and Rolexes and certain vehicles that they drive are common. And then the necessary is it's necessary for your particular business, for you to be successful. So it's got to satisfy both of those requirements. I would fight that in a full field audit. I would make a case for it. And at a closing meeting, you're going to negotiate that with, typically you're going to negotiate that with an audit manager, an IRS audit manager. And you're going to be sitting there saying, okay, look, if you don't want to accept these, I'm arguing 50% of these expenses, these estimated expenses we should take, and another 70% of these aggressive expenses that you're not allowing. I'm going to argue with this, and I'm not going to budge on this. And if you don't, then I'm going to go to appeals in 30 days.
Right.
They don't want you to go to appeals. They want to get this case off. And if you go to appeals, it's going to go to a separate IRS agent, an appeals agent, not that one, but they may very well find it back in that office. So they want to get cases off their desk. Most accountants who don't do audits don't understand that. So you can negotiate expenses even if you don't have the backup for all of them. And even if they're somewhat aggressive, you can use that as a negotiating point at the end of an audit. In addition to that, once you're in appeals, there's something called the hazards of litigation, which means the IRS in the Internal Revenue Manual that IRS agents have, they are asked to evaluate what are the hazards of litigation if then there is a petition filed in tax court. And they have to evaluate that. So they're looking at appeals, they're looking at possibly going to tax court and evaluating, the hazards of litigation. They look at all of that and they say, okay, we'll give you, let's say instead of 70%, we'll give you 40% of the expenses you're asking for your client. This is what you do at the end of a full field audit. Okay, so you spent $100,000 at Walmart, and I know you had office expenses, you had supplies you bought there, you bought food for office parties, you bought a number of different things. Whereas the average account says, you don't have any expenses, you don't have any receipts for these expenses, we can't take anything. No, under the Cohan rule, you can estimate of that $100,000, how many of that would be office business expenses. And so I would argue, let's say 50%. They're going to say 30, and we settle on 40%.
Right.
That's what you do. That's why that's what you can do at the end of what we call a full field audit. Now you might get, a lot more pushback than that, but that's what you try to negotiate at the end because they don't want to go to appeals. They don't want to go to tax court. And even then, after that, you could say, you know what? I might not go to appeals. I might not go to tax court, but I'm going to do a request for audit reconsideration, which means you can request, even if it's a 10-year-old audit, you can request for that audit to be opened up from scratch again, one time.
Right. They don't want to do that.
That's four different ways. You got the negotiating at the audit table of the initial audit. You got appeals. You got tax court, and you got a request for audit reconsideration. 4 different ways that you can win for your client. And the IRS doesn't want things to drag on. They're told to close cases because guess what? All of that's resources and time, even for the IRS.
And you still got 35 more cases behind you.
You got it. So you use the idea of hazards of litigation to your advantage for your client.
Right. What's the next one?
The next one is this is what brought me to Miami. So over 10 years ago, a referral came into me for 2 ex-NFL players who I will keep nameless. and I have a non-disclosure agreement with them. I cannot ever mention their name, okay? And I can't even mention the team they were on, okay? But I met them in South Beach,
Right.
okay? Once again, through a referral, I got a downstroke from, they were both being audited, and they knew each other, 2 full field audits, okay? Different reasons, but they got 2 full field audits, and why they both got it at the same time, maybe it was just a stroke of luck, what have you. One owed 1.6, the other owed 1.4 million, a couple of years. I met them in South Beach. I met them at Ocean Drive.
Right.
And we're sitting there in a corner, and away from everybody. They started to tell me their story. They didn't bring any documents. I didn't even agree to be a POA at this point. I just wanted to meet them, but they both sent me 10 grand each. So, that was enough for me to come to South Beach. They're telling me their stories. It's like incredible. And then they're like, you know what? Let's go to my my condo here. So we went to the condo, and we're over there, and they're showing me everything, and then they continue to tell the story, and the story is like he's got. Well, let me back up. So when we were in the condo, he's got like 7 phones, and that he was going back and forth on them, and I'm like, well, what are all these phones for? It's like, yeah, I gotta manage all my women. So. I've never seen 7. He says, yeah, I got this one there. When I'm with this one, I got these phones off, and I got these phones off when I'm with this one. I said, dude, that's a lot of work. He says, yeah, man, but they can't handle it, man. They can't handle it. So I thought that was funny, man. I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, they were in a full field audit. Once again, it was a disaster because they didn't have a proper bookkeeping done. I mean, they had bank accounts all over the place. They had credit cards that were not taken, credit card expenses that were not taken into consideration in the bookkeeping that was done. They just had a terrible accountant. Okay, we pulled it all together, including.
How many years are they going back?
One was 3 years, the other was 2 years. One of the things. What I brought up was 162A. We took one of them was in the music business already. He started a music company, and we were able to take aggressive deductions on the jewelry, on some of the cars, aggressive positions on the vehicles.
The bling.
Yeah, the bling, especially as he was in music, and then the other guy had a casualty loss because he lost his house. And the insurance didn't cover a lot of it. So on a 4684 casualty loss, we took like more than $850,000 in a casualty loss that his accountant didn't know about. I mean, that was huge. Right. So we did a full bookkeeping. We took the casualty loss on him, and we took aggressive deductions on the music company that this other guy started, who he also lost money on. He was losing money in the music business that he had just started out on. And we took them down. One ended up owing $600,000, the other about $400,000. So from 1.6 to 1.4, about $1 million each. And we saved them, about $1 million each. So that's the story. But
said there's a lot of these knuckleheads in Miami. I need to move here or get an office. I didn't start an office here.
There you go. So I came here to start an office to create content and to create a presence. To attract these people to my business and to help save them. And I am discovering that there is more than this than I even imagined going on here.
Yeah, we talked about, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, a lot of these crypto guys are, I tell them, you think you're smart skating under the IRS radar, they're going to get you, bro. Yeah. They're going to get you. Let's get you compliant. Because if they catch you, not only are they going to catch you for your taxes, they could potentially get you for a fraud penalty through tax evasion. Tax avoidance is legal. Tax evasion is not. Right. And if you don't file your returns for a certain period of time, knowing well that you need to because you have income, that can be constituted as tax evasion. So we've got to get you compliant. And on top of that, you could get late payment penalties. Late filing penalties is 25%. On top, if
it's fraud, you go to prison.
And fraud, if you go to prison. Yeah. Correct.
Nobody ever thinks they're going to go to prison for. I can tell you right now, I've met multiple guys that were locked up in prison for tax evasion, for fraud, tax fraud, whatever. And these were guys that owned
they own like 3 businesses and they were just taking deductions that they couldn't prove, and they done it multiple. If you get caught like twice, you get caught once,
Yes.
and it's not that they hit you, and then 3 years later you get caught again. Well, you're probably gonna go to jail. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
if you can't pay them back and work it out, there's a good chance you're gonna go to jail. I knew a guy that got 3 years.
Yeah, at least a fraud penalty,
Yeah.
which could be 100%. So, and then, you could end up owing 3 times the amount of tax due with all the penalties, is my point. So, but that's why I specifically went to Miami, not LA. I'm in Chicago. I didn't go to LA and I didn't go to New York. Not that that's not going on there, but I knew that this stuff is happening in Miami. And so I came here to provide my services to people who really need to become compliant. And that's why I came to Miami. And like I said, I'm discovering a lot of it. But because I'm on Instagram all over the country, I'm getting people in California and getting Vegas, getting them in New York, but definitely getting them in Miami too. Like I said, there's a lot of OnlyFans girls that need to be compliant. I mean, they're saying it right on Instagram.
Yeah, we before the podcast started, we talked about how I was just flipping through my TikTok or something, I don't know. And these 2 girls were talking about how much money they were making on, I want to say it was OnlyFans. And the one girl, you knew the video I was talking about. And I was like, I don't know, she was like, oh, I'm making, whatever it was, $1 million a month or whatever. I forget how much it was. I think you said like 40.
Well, there's one girl, she said, I made $43 million. And I actually got on her answer and said, number one, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
I literally said that. Why are you telling the world you made $43 million?
Yeah, well, because
it creates a lot of risk. Number one, somebody's going to come after you. Somebody might kidnap you. First of all,
they're clueless. These are clueless chicks. But she says it, and the other girl says, "Oh my God, like what are you paying in taxes?" And she says, "What do you mean?" She's like, "They take the taxes out." It's like, and she went, "No, they don't." And she's like, "Yeah, they do." You see her like looking around, and you're just like, "Oh God, baby girl, like you're 25 years old. You're making more money than God knows you deserve." And you know what I'm saying? It's outrageous. And that's the problem. People get on social media and they start getting these checks for $12,000 or $30,000 or $5,000, and they just start blowing the money. It's like, wait a minute, at the end, because they don't think it was only $5,000. Oh, it's $12,000. Wait a minute. At the end of the year, you just made $200,000.
Yes.
And it was 1099. And then if they're smart, prior to that, they're already making quarterly payments, right?
Yes.
But if they get there and they go, I made $200,000. Well, what do you mean I have to file taxes? Oh, and they go to let's face it, there is not a ton of write-offs if you're using your phone to do an Instagram or to do or whatever, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you owe $50,000-$60,000, and they're like, holy shit, that's 3 months of my next 3 months. Yeah, that's your next. And you have no bookkeeping set up. You don't even really know where the money went.
This is why these people need, even in Florida where there's no state income tax, except if you have a C Corp, there is a state income tax. People don't know that. Your maximum federal rate is 37%. That is more than a third of your money. You better get a good tax accountant. You better get one that knows what they're doing and that could legitimately and legally get your taxes down as much as possible. People are like playing with this. This is not something to be played with at all.
It's really, once you get the system in place, right now, like my wife, we have a CPA, and it's just, at the end of the month, listen, they're smart enough that they even contact her to say, hey,
yes,
we need this. And she sends it. And so it's a constant thing. But once you get on a system, it's not that hard. It's just because really, if you're sending it to your account, I'm not saying if you're doing it, I'm saying if they're sending it to their accountant. Like if you're a regular person trying to do your taxes yourself, it's difficult, bro.
Well, what happened with the crypto, and there's a lot of crypto people in Miami and other places. What happened with the crypto is because over the whenever crypto really started, you weren't getting 1099 for crypto. There was no 1099s. Now that's changing. So all these people, when I say they were skating under the radar, they're not getting 1099, but that doesn't mean you didn't make the money.
Right.
You could get caught. You could get audited anyway. So they really felt they were just like rolling the dice, hoping that because
catch up to them.
Yeah, because the IRS transcript, the wage and income transcript, didn't show any income from crypto transactions, and that would be capital gains.
Right. And this is when these companies are notifying the IRS that this person made this much money, and you think, oh, I didn't get anything. Okay, but the IRS
you know, like in that
It's reported to the
that
IRS.
case, in that case, they're thinking, I didn't get a 1099. The IRS didn't get a 1099. I'm okay. But if that money still ran, like there's still a record. It still ran through your bank account. You still
Correct.
spent the money. You made the money.
Right, but it's worse if it's reported to the IRS then, because actually then they're going to send you a deficiency notice.
But you're assuming, if you don't get a 1099 as an individual, you're assuming they didn't tell the IRS. But you're saying they could be telling the IRS.
No, I don't think they are.
Okay.
No. We don't know.
That makes me feel better.
No, they're not telling the IRS. I don't think. Now, I've been told that Chase Bank really worked closely with the IRS, so I would not advise anybody to work with Chase Bank. But they don't. The banks do not just give your information to the IRS.
Right.
The answer is no. But
No, I meant like a company. Like if this company,
your
if-
customer is required, if you are an LLC or an individual, to give the IRS 1099s for you. However, most people don't know this, and I just went through this with a new client I have in Miami. You're not required to get a 1099 as an S corp or a C corp, even though they're giving it to you. So you're not required to get one for a C corp or an S corp. And an LLC and an individual, yes, you are required to get a 1099 from your customer, either in 1099 miscellaneous, 1099 NEC, 1099K for if you're swiping your credit card. All of that's going to be reported to the IRS. But you're right. Even if it's not reported to the IRS, you're responsible for paying income
still made
taxes
the
on your
money.
income.
You still
Of
made
course
the
you did.
money.
But once again, I'm saying that they think because it didn't get reported to the IRS that they're going to skate under the radar. And I said to them, you're not going to. Especially if you get on Instagram and say you made $43 million. That just makes no sense to me. Why would you even tell the world any of that? Just keep your mouth shut.
Right. I hear you. The 25-year-old,
Yeah.
chick who's never really had a real job.
Trying to flex. Yeah, that's not
and
the
she
this
never really
flex.
had a real job. So she's, this is, they're not thinking clearly. Things have been going pretty good.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to pivot to some other legal thing. We
Sure.
can talk, okay. So I don't know if you know this. I built an orphanage and a school in Haiti in 2001. I have a not-for-profit called www.lifefortheworld.com. And
What is it? You said it so quick. What?
www.lifefortheworld.com. That's my,
Charity.
that I
Okay.
built myself. In 2001, I'll back up. When I sold my first practice, when I was 37, I decided to take a year off. I was at that point a millionaire. I was like, I can't believe it. Like I finally, got real money in my life,
And then that occupied your time for about 3 months, and then you thought, I got to do
well,
something.
no, it's
I'm
very
bored,
unusual
right?
because I had 2 small children at the time. Like, who just quits? Like, I quit. I killed myself since I've been 13.
Yeah.
Working really, really hard. And I said to myself, what am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Right.
I said this to myself. And obviously I had money, so I wasn't worried about that at all. But I took a year off. I told myself I'm going to take a year off. And what I did during that year is I meditated, I read books, and I exercised. That's what I did. And spent time with my 2 boys, who were very young at the time. And one of them was 6, the other was 3. Okay, 2 boys. So, and I was criticized for a lot of people by doing it. I don't care about what people think of me. You're living a very boring life to me, and you're not me, okay? And I really don't care. So I would go to the library every day. And I ended up picking up a book called The Neglected and Abused: The Physician's Year in Haiti. Just toward the end of that year, I picked up I just stumbled across it. And it was written by an Italian Catholic.
What was it called again?
It was called The Neglected and Abused: A Physician's Year in Haiti.
Okay.
All right? I said that kind of fast.
You say everything kind of fast, by the way. Sorry.
Do I?
Yeah.
Should I slow it
No,
down?
it's fine.
I'm trying to get a lot in.
You're good.
Okay. So I have a lot in my head about all these stories. So it's
Right.
but it intrigued me. I literally just read the book in 2 to 3 hours, however long it took. And it was a couple of 100 pages long. And it was an Italian Catholic. So that intrigued me because he was Italian. And at the end of the book, he says, this country is a hellhole. And all these diseases that are here, tuberculosis and, obviously AIDS, yellow fever, malaria. It's just 500 miles from the shores of Miami. I'm like, what? And it intrigued me. And because my uncle, and I go back to this, my uncle was handicapped and he crawled on the floor. And I grew up right next to him. I told you earlier, I grew up right next to my grandfather. And my uncle lived there forever because, you know, he was a cripple. Okay, he had a bone disease, and he literally crawled on the floor. And I always had a heart for handicapped people. And to tell you real quick story short, my father, I never forget, I went to my aunt's wedding, and I'll never forget my father. Me and my brother were making fun of a fat guy at the wedding, and my father, who had, you know, 18-inch arms, he was this tough, short Italian guy. He grabbed us and he put up against the wall. He said, "Don't you ever make fun of anybody ever again." And I never did, man. And that was because his own brother and he says, "You don't know what people have ever been through." So I grew up right next to my uncle who crawled on the floor. So I'm trying to give you a right picture. And I always felt called to help people who were kicked to the curb, the misfits, the broken people, you know, the island of misfit toys, so you say, and
Right.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I really did feel like that. So here, I can't forget about this book. And I told my kid's mother, "I'm going to Haiti. This is who I am. Like, I'm going to Haiti." So I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't speak French. I didn't speak Creole. I've never been any place but Canada. And I got myself together. And in 2001, I put 8 suitcases together. I was smart enough to say, I'm going to hide my cash in different suitcases. I brought all kinds of clothes with me. That's mostly what I brought with me. And I hid my cash anywhere. You can't do that now. They have too many scanners. They're going to find your money. And here I was. I got on a plane to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, from Chicago in 2001 by myself. I knew nothing and no one.
Well, I mean, you're going to Haiti for how long?
I had no idea. At least 2 months, I was thinking. I'm not even lying.
Fuck that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I did. You can get on I have 350 YouTube videos. If you ever want to get on there, you could see them. They're all there. From 2001 on through, essentially last couple of years. Okay. I have 350 doing food distributions with me and the kids in the school. Situations where I was ambushed, and they tell the story afterward. I'll tell a couple of those. And I was held at gunpoint. I'll tell a couple of those. And so here I was. I came into the Port-au-Prince airport, and I literally said, "Does anybody know English?" And this guy, taxi driver in Brooklyn, English, says to me, "Yeah, I speak in English." I say, "You know this place called Cité Soleil in this book?" He says, "Yeah, but you can't go there. You'll be killed." So I said, "Well," he says, where do you want to go? I can't take it. I says, I don't know. Are there churches around here? So he took me to a church. Here I am, 8 suitcases. I had another car to do that. So it was 4 in one car, 4 in the other. And they brought me to this. I mean, they could have just kidnapped me and killed me right there, and it would be end of story. But they didn't.
Yeah.
So they brought me to this church. I ended up staying there for a couple of days. And then I wanted to go to this place called Cité Soleil that I read about in this book, where all these kids were starving to death, and there was AIDS and everything, and dysentery and tuberculosis and all this stuff. So I finally found somebody that was able to do that. I rented an SUV, even though Haiti is like a 7th world country. There's almost nothing there. And at the time when I was there, you couldn't even find a cash machine. There's no cash machines. Okay. There's banks, but no cash machines. So I decided to go to this place called Cité Soleil, and I was just shattered. I was flabbergasted, and I was in tears. I really was in literal tears to see this poverty, real extreme poverty. Kids running around with no clothes, people, living in mud huts. So I ended up staying in a mud hut in Cité Soleil for about 35 days, which is, very difficult to do. Staying in a mud hut for 35 days is hard because, number one, you have no water at night. Even if you have water, it's 90 degrees in Haiti. So you're going to drink warm water. The mosquitoes are coming at you like kamikazes all night. Really big mosquitoes. I didn't even know what I was doing. I never took malaria pills. I never did any of that. And they could have given me yellow fever. And when I found out later on, I never caught malaria. In fact, my blood is clean to this day, and my body has been in every dangerous place in Haiti you can imagine. I didn't even catch tuberculosis, and the doctors at the hospital in Port-au-Prince, I had to go there because I got sick. I got double pneumonia twice. They said to me, "You went to that area of Cité Soleil. I mean, that consumed all of our tuberculosis medicine. We got to check you." I didn't even have TB. It was amazing. So after the end of the 35 days, I'm with my guide in Haiti, and he says to me,
Is this the taxi driver?
No.
Another
Another
got
guy
another guy.
from the church.
Okay.
He says to me, what are you going to do? And just so you know, had been protected during this time because the chiefs of the village that I was in, like, they were protecting me because I was helping the kids with money. Now, I didn't keep all my money in the mud hut. I had some at the church that was being watched by the pastor's son, who ended up becoming a friend of mine. His name is Jean Lafortune. But I did have some money there, but they never stole it. Like, I was like, they were protecting me because I was feeding the kids. I was feeding the villagers. You know, I was and they don't, you know, they do take American money, but they deal in Haitian gourds. So Haitian gourds, it got translated, and I was just feeding the kids every day. I was helping the villagers. I was, you know, doing, you know, that kind of work. So what happened is at the end of it, I'm like, you know, I'm just going to go and visit another area. Well, my guide says to me in Creole, these kids just said, and I'm going to speak to you a little bit in Creole. The kids said to me in Creole, nous besoin les mêmes papa nous-mêmes. We want him to be our father. What? We want him to be our father. Like 12 kids. So he says to me in Creole, he says to me in English rather, what are you going to do? Because he spoke English, but he also spoke Creole. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I mean, I don't know. I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll get them clothes. We'll take them to a hotel and get them out of the mud hut. When I did that, within 3 days, some guy came to me from the church I was going to, and he said to me in Creole, through a translator, he said, God sent me to help you. Bon Dieu voyait moi-même pour aider vous. God sent me to help you. I heard that there was a man helping the children in misery. And I said, okay, what do we do? He said, I have a house. I have a place. I have a piece of land. We can take the kids there and we can start a school and an orphanage. And in October of 2001, Maranatha Orphanage and School started in a place called Sault-Ste-Marie, Haiti. And since then, I have graduated more than 5,000 kids from Maranatha Orphanage and School. I've spent half my net worth. I spent literally half my net worth over 20 years. That is the absolute fact. And my time, risked my life on the streets every day. And for the first 5 years, it was only me. After the 5 years, we did get donors. And since then, outside of my money, we've raised about $3.5 million over, well, that's the first 5 years was all me. So around 2006 to the present, we've raised about $3.5 million, which is not a lot. And my money's a lot more than that. But we've graduated with 5,000 kids. I've put 4 through medical school. One of them is in France route now, and 3 of them are in Haiti. And now the kids are in their 20s that were just little kids when they were in my orphanage in school. And I'm still the president of it. It's called Life for the World. And you can see it on the website. You can go to YouTube videos and see all my YouTube videos, and they're all there. But now, to get to the point, so the danger.
Right.
Okay. So one time we were buying supplies for the orphanage and the school. And I needed new tires also. And it was in Cité Soleil. Cité Soleil is a dangerous place. And there's no street lights in Haiti. Literally no street lights, okay? So when 7:30, 8 o'clock rolls around, like, it's pitch dark. And in the areas I go in, the only people in Haiti that are white are missionaries.
Right.
And then me. I wasn't a missionary. I was just a regular guy. And there is no white people on the street at night. Like, I'm the only guy you could see. And people say to me, were you scared? And I got to say, except for a few limited cases, I was never scared.
Right.
I just wasn't. It's just not my personality to be scared. I was more, I'm an adventurer. I'm a risk taker. And I wanted to help people. And I knew, there were some dangerous situations, but I'll tell you one. So I went to buy some tires for my SUV that I had already transported over, and I transported a number of vehicles from port in West Palm Beach. It took them to West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach, they go to Port-au-Prince or St. Mark. And we're going to this place to get tires, and I'm with my operations manager, who was a Haitian guy, and he was a poor guy. All the people that I dealt with, by the way, were not rich people. Even though there was some pastors that had a little money, they always tried to bring me into their entourage, but I wasn't interested. My friends were the kids and the people in extreme poverty. Those were my friends. And those are the people that ended up working for me. I'd hired them to be the teachers in the school. So as soon as we get there, we're walking over. It's casual, and he's a little over to the side, and I'm just standing there waiting for some guy to come out and show us the tires he's going to buy. And immediately somebody grabs his arm and puts a gun right to my skull. And the other guy I have two guys. One grabbed my arm, one put a gun to my skull, and he grabbed my hand like this. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it happened so fast. And he said, Tale, wait. Like, I think he didn't want me to do anything. Wait, Tale. Simon, my operations manager, turns around, and the guy says, come on, vamos tu cobla. Vamos tu cob, Uguien Blanc. Give me all your money, white man. Rapide, Connier, fast now. he's got this guy's like, a revolver. And I said, Tale, okay. Moi pas en pile. I don't have a lot. He said, Blanc ou gain. White man, you have it, I know. I said, hey, pose, en peace. And then Simone, my guy, comes over. We're trying to be really cool. You got to be cool.
Right.
If you make any jerking movement, he's just probably going to shoot me, So I know he wants money. I know he doesn't want to shoot me. If he wants to shoot me, he would have shot me already, right? So, and this is not the first time it happened. So Simone comes over and he says to him in Creole, he says, "Vous connaissez lui-même? Do you know him?" No, I don't know. We don't know him. He says, "Si ou croyez non bon Dieu, if you believe in God, ou proud pas fait yon mauvais bagay pour lui-même, you won't do a bad thing to him. Because li ed ampil munyo non le plain. He helps many children and many people in Le Plain, which is Sous-Metla, where my orphanage and school is."
Right.
And he said, "Bon Dieu parfait, mauvais bagay pour ou-même." God will do a bad thing to you. So, "Ou croyez en bon Dieu?" The guy says, "Yes, I believe in God." He said, "Moi pensez ou pas besoin rien pour lui-même." I think you better not do anything to him. That's what he says to him. And I'm not saying anything. They're talking. The good thing was Simone, they're both in extreme poverty. Like, they spoke the same language.
Yeah.
The ghetto. In fact, my Creole is ghetto. Yeah, and people, I've gone to New York and they say, "Oh, Fedele, your Creole's so ghetto." Because I learned it on the street. Right. I didn't learn it in a classroom. And so he says to me, "Okay, you get $200? You have $200? US."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, man, sure. So I hide my money in like 3 different places in my body in case you're kidnapped or you're robbed. They think you'll have.
Yeah.
So I pulled off my shoe. I pulled off my shoe, and out of that I had like 500, and I pulled out 200, and I gave it to him, and that was it. He let us go.
Right.
He could have taken the SUV. He could have killed us. He could have taken everything we had.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost a miracle, you would think, because usually when people do it, but my operations manager, Simone, was an intelligent guy. He's super cool. And he convinced the guy just to, hey, let him go. I gave him some money, and that was it. Amazing, huh?
No.
So,
I just can't imagine spending that much time in that environment. It's,
That's why I told you never met anybody like me.
Yeah.
You've never met a white guy like me before. I promise you never have. And you may never.
And I remember I went to Jamaica, and we asked the cab driver to drive us, like, "Hey, well, where can we drive?" And I forget the name of the town. And we were like, "Oh, we want to go here." He's like, "No, well, I'm not taking you there. You're not going there." He was like, "No." He's like, You'll get robbed, killed. It's no. I mean, like basically they had the tourist areas you could go to, and that was it. You ventured anywhere outside of those areas, they were like, it's extremely dangerous. You could get killed. You'll get robbed for sure. And it was like,
they often say to me in Haiti, I have another story where I got ambushed. We were also buying furniture, and I with the same guy, Simone, and we were in a safe place near Cité Soleil. I mean, somebody said, "Well, are there any safe places?" Not really. Not for a guy like me. There is no safe place. You could be in Central Plateau, where there's just coconut trees and lime trees. and you know, village guys could just come up on you and just, you know, cut your throat and
Right.
take what you got. Like, there is really no safe place. The Haitians would say to me, "Nous connaissons bon Dieu avec vous." We know God is with you, or you be dead.
Right.
You know, and because you're helping the children, they would tell me that. But yeah. So in another case, I was buying furniture, and me and Simone are walking over. Right, I was just gonna find a couple pictures where me and Simone were walking over, and obviously I have money, and we're in a pickup truck. But it's more than just. Here, this is all my kids that I found and put in the orphanage. At one time, you know, that was like 375. Okay, so that's me in the early years. We're going to get the furniture, and immediately when I get there, I could see these guys have guns in their pockets. Just kids, you know, 16, 17, 18 years old, you know. So, not normal to see that many. So they were part of a gang.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure they were part of a gang. And Simone, once again, my operations manager, he's a cool customer. He knows his people. He knows how to move among anybody. So we're buying the furniture. And then he says to me, you know, so we're standing off on the side. And they're saying to us, go, this area, you know, is dangerous. If you go back the same way you came, it's going to be, you know, these other gang members are going to get you guys. So why don't you go around this way, and it'll be a little safer for you. And later on, Simone told me, I knew they were going to just ambush us and kill us.
Yeah. I was going to say, they may be telling you where to go because they're already waiting for you.
So exactly. And at that point, I understood enough Creole to know what they were asking for. And so we together, this is interesting because we didn't even talk to each other. We're just doing this together. Yeah, sure, we're gonna go that way, no problem. And we're like real cool, like yeah, we're gonna go that way. And so I paid, and they didn't even negotiate a higher price for the furniture. And I'm confident it's because they knew they were just gonna kill us and take everything.
Right.
So they just agreed to the price. And that was very unusual. That itself told me they're gonna kill us and take everything.
Right.
Okay. So I give him the money, and then as we're walking, Simone says to me real quietly, said, "Allez rapide, go fast," and I already knew. Okay, so we're walking. We're not walking fast. We're not acting like, you know. And we got 4 girls in the back who were the teachers in our school. 4 girls. Now, it probably was a bad idea to bring them with us, but they wanted to come, and I thought maybe they might be helpful. So it's not just me and him, it's, you know, 4 other lives in the back of the pickup truck. And they were going to hold the furniture, you know, so it didn't fall off. So I get in my Toyota, and I wanted to make sure everything was, you know, I was ready to goose it. I was ready to, you know, to go, you know, pretty fast. And so I just, you know, hit the gas a little bit, and I took off. And as soon as I took off, they shot at us. We ducked. I ducked. We told the girls to duck because, you know, you have a bed.
Yeah.
The bullets didn't get through. They hit the side of the bed, and we got away.
So they were just going to just execute everybody.
Yeah, they were shooting everybody.
Okay.
And so we all got away. And there's a video on there where Mike narrowly escaped death in City Soleil, 2005. I got that actually on. He told the story immediately after that. Simone told the story of how we got away. And he said, God saved us. It's a true story, man. So I was in West Palm Beach delivering container to Haiti.
Okay.
There's a port there. You take it from Chicago to West Palm Beach. And I'm there at a bar, just having a glass of wine. I worked all day to get the thing delivered, and it's all done. And I'm going to go home tomorrow, but I'm still in my hotel. So I just said, let me go out in West Palm Beach and hang out for a minute. And I found a bar to hang out in. It was a dance club and everything. It looked pretty nice. And somebody says, and I'm by myself. And somebody says to me, one of the waitresses says, yeah, there's a lot of rich people. That guy over there, in fact, that guy's a really rich guy. He's like an ex-jeweler or whatever. So somebody then buys me a bottle of wine. And the waitress says, by the way, that that guy over there just bought you a bottle of wine. The guy that she just talked about that was
Right.
rich bought you a bottle of wine. He asked what you were drinking, and he bought you a bottle of wine. And then he waves at me. He goes like that, waves at me. I said, yeah, come on over, man. I mean, I didn't know he was an older guy.
Yeah.
And he sits down. And so we're sitting there talking. And I said, hey, man, you know, what's with the wine? He said, no, hey, man, you look new here. You look like you're, you haven't been here before. I just, I'm a regular here. And I just thought about buy you a bottle of wine to look like you were by yourself. I said, oh, yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man. And what do you do? Well, I'm retired. I'm a jeweler from New York City, Jewish guy. So, the guy's probably loaded, right?
Right.
And so he says, yeah, I cycle every day. It's what I do. I'm 70. I think he said he's 76. And I said, yeah, man, that's cool. So then he says to me, so which direction you go? What? I was like, what? What do you mean which direction? I mean, are you straight? Are you gay? I said, nah, I'm straight, man. He goes, you never tried to have sex with a man before or something?
Here's your bottle of wine back.
No. I'm not finished. Wait, I'm not finished. I said, nah, man, I don't do that, bro. I've had guys hit on me. I told him, I was like, I've had
a lot like this.
I had a friend. I had a guy that I worked at IBM when I was an intern in college. Hit on me one time, and I'm like, nah, dude, man, you got the wrong guy. I just don't do that. And he said, well, so I was telling him about my orphanage, right? My orphanage in school. And he says, and I said, yeah, right now. He says, really, what does it cost to like run that kind of thing? I said, well, right now, we're running it for around $30,000 to $40,000 a month. That includes all the food, the teacher salaries, everything. And so he says, that's a lot of money. And I says like, well, so I said, obviously, I guess, what do you, the reason you're talking like this is, I mean, are you gay? He says, yeah. But I said, you just told me like you have grandchildren and you're married? He says, yep. I mean, only when I really got retired did I get into this, life. I said, how do you do that? Like, how do you just become gay? And, I'm not asking this loud. We're talking low, right? How do you just become gay? He says, it's just like I ended up having, sex with a couple of, younger guys, like, and I turned gay, man. And I pretty much just want to do this. I said, okay, man. And then he says to me, listen.
It all started with a bottle of wine. No.
And he says, listen, what did you say that you spend in the orphanage every month? I said, it's around 30, 40,000. He says, I'm gonna offer you a proposition. This is like, okay. He says, you come down to visit me a couple times a month on a plane. We go out to play golf or go cycling like I go to, and you hang out with me, stay with me for a couple of nights a week. I'll give you your $40,000 a month. What? He says, yeah, I'll give you $40,000 a month.
I'm assuming is this including sex? Is that what he's thinking?
Yeah, obviously, obviously. And I'm like, but dude, I just told you. He said, I'll take care of your whole orphanage for $40,000. I'll take care of it. I said, you have that kind of money? He says, I'm filthy loaded. And I said, he says, to be honest with you, then he goes like, to be honest with you, I'm 76 years old and I want what I want at this point, and I'm filthy rich. I said, I believe you. Since you're a jeweler from New York, I believe it. But I said, dude, I just don't do it. He goes, here's my card. You think about it. Is that incredible? Obviously, I didn't do it. But then I get back to my, look, there's probably some people that would do that. I mean, I don't know. There probably are. But I go back and I talked to this one guy, Richie, on my board. He's Haitian. And he goes, Mike, do it for the team. I said, nah, dude, I can't. So I didn't do it. But that's a true story, dude. He offered me. I don't know if it would have happened.
Right.
But everything looked legit. And then when I finally parted and my waitress came over, I said, how rich is that guy? She said, that guy is filthy rich. He was not lying to you. That guy is loaded.
Right.
But nope, didn't do it. Sorry, dude. I can't. Don't go that direction. I just ran a Miami half marathon, by the way. So I was warming down the last 2 days on the street, doing warm downs and walking and running. And I got stopped by guys. Hey, man, can I take a picture with you, Mike? Mike, I saw you're the guy on Instagram, right? And they want to take pictures with me now. So it's turning.
Yeah.
Like I now have a following. And the messages I get every day are, hey, man, would you mentor me?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's interesting how this is. Now I got the haters too, but there is a real following of Gen Zs, particularly Gen Zs, the guys in their 20s that are saying, "Hey man, what did you do in your 20s to set you up for the life you're living? Like what would you recommend to a guy like me, 21 and I'm broke? What would you do?"
Yeah, there's a whole lost generation
Yes.
of these young guys that are just aimless and they have no purpose.
Exactly.
They need somebody to say, look, this is every time I talk to one of these guys, I'm telling them the most basic advice,
Yes.
right? And they act like it's like wow, like I've never heard that. Like you've never heard that?
Yeah.
You've never heard like get a job, work out, work on yourself, be a better person, do the right thing. These things that are foreign to them. It's fucking horrible.
It is. I actually got on there one time and I was responding to what a guy asked me. He said, this guy's confidence, he was talking about me, has to be studied. I don't think I come across.
I hear you.
I don't think I come across that confident. I'm just a regular guy. I mean, I don't come across like
You might think that you're probably not a regular guy, but let's assume you are a regular guy. You're a regular guy for your and really my generation, right? Like,
How old are you?
I'm 56.
56. So we're pretty close.
We're close.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, you like you said, you can sit here and tell stories about your father who was trying to build. Who was, it's so funny because I hear this all the time. I thought these like, my father's my best friend. Really? My father was a lot of things. He was not my friend. He wasn't concerned about being my friend. He was concerned about building someone that could survive in life.
Absolutely.
Being
Absolutely.
being nice about it wasn't even, really that he wasn't that interested in having to be nice. He was like, this, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do, the way I say to do it. Why? Because I said so. He wasn't trying to explain to me why to do something. It was, listen, I tell this story. When I was, I got two stories. I love these stories. Well, like one time I was laying in bed. It had to be like 8 o'clock in the morning, let's say. And I'm in an apartment. I'm living in an apartment. I'm in my 20s.
Right.
And my dad, the phone.
This is normal.
This is back when you had phones.
Yeah.
The phone rang.
Right.
You would have a phone by your bed. It was
right.
not a cell phone. So it was connected to the wall. Right. So, and the phone rings and I reach out, and I'm with my girlfriend at the time. We were living together. I'm in college. I pick up the phone and I'm in a dead sleep. I'm like, fuck, what the fuck, And then he goes, Matthew? And I mean, I sat straight up in bed. Yes, sir. And he goes, your mother needs some boxes put in the attic. I need you to come over here right now. Yes, sir. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Boom, hung up the phone, got up, and my girlfriend was like, Jesus Christ. She's like, who was that? I was like, that's my dad. I got to go put on my pants, and I wasn't scared. He's not going to beat me up or anything.
Yeah.
But it was respect.
Yes.
My other favorite one is I was in college.
Uh-huh.
And he paged me. I had a pager. He had a cell phone, either one in the car.
Right. When they had the pagers.
Yeah. But he had the cell phone. He had one of the first cell phones where it was connected to the car.
Right.
But he pages me. I get up. I go to the payphone. They had these things called payphones. And so I find it and I pick it up and I start talking. And I call. I'm like, hey, Dad, what's going on? He said, Matthew, my tire in my car is flat. I'm on the corner of 56th and Bush Boulevard. Right. I need you to bring me your car. Keep in mind, I have a BMW. He bought me a BMW. I'm in college.
Wow.
He's paying for college, right? But so I go, okay, well, I'm in the middle class, Dad. I don't get off. I won't be out of class till like 5 o'clock. And I said, don't you have AAA? He goes, AAA? AAA? $2,000 a semester for your college. He has another $1,000 for supplies and books. He said, $750 a month for your rent, $400 for your car payment, $500 for fucking for food. He goes, you're my fucking AAA. Get your fucking ass over here. And I said, yes, sir. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Boom, hung up the phone, bolted. I'm walking right out. As I'm walking out of class, my teacher's like, he's like, where are you going? I gotta go. Straight there. When I got there, I pull my car up, get out with my keys. He holds up his keys, we're walking by. We swap keys, and he goes, bring the car back when you have the tire flat.
Wow.
Got in the car. And he wasn't a dick.
Right.
I mean, he was just like, I don't even appreciate you saying AAA. motherfucker. Don't even say it. You're costing me a couple grand a month. Plus this, plus that, and but that was, and I wasn't, like you said, it wasn't serious. You could have sit down and have a conversation with him. He was a good guy. He was a good guy, but don't question me. Like I'm your father.
Absolutely.
You'll do what I say.
Oh, that's the way it was. In fact, you bring up the word fuck, and let me just say this: I won't say only the generation, but it was the generation. But in the area where I was, these Italians, you couldn't use the word fuck in front of a woman. You never heard a girl say fuck.
Right.
Nowadays, and even now, I hesitate. It's weird. I have content girls and, you see everybody, but I hesitate saying fuck in front of a girl.
Right.
Because if I did that in front of my mother, my father would have taken a weightlifting belt and beat me from here to China.
Right.
You just never, and my grandfather, if I ever said that in front of him, are you crazy? It just wouldn't have happened. So it was a different world, and even in terms of how people talk. And nowadays, everybody is bitch this, that, pussy this.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't you know the English language? And it's so juvenile and just trashy and dirty. But we couldn't even do that. You couldn't even talk like that back then. That was a part of the respect. And my father had a short fuse, though. My father had a short fuse. He was a great man, but he had a short fuse. Like, he was like, get your ass out. Get your freaking ass out. I remember me and my brother one time, my mother and father went out, for dinner or something. We went for like a date night, whatever it was. And me and my brother, as we did sometime, my older brother, we got into a fist fight over something stupid. If my brother watches this, he's going to be mad at me, but I was stronger than my older brother. I could beat my older brother up, okay? Even though I was 2 years younger. And I remember one time we just went at it, and my brother had like by the time my parents got home, my brother had a black eye, fat lip, at least. And I might have had a black eye. Like he was a lot more beat up than I was. And we just stopped at some point. My brother's face was all beat up. My father came in and he said, "Get you goddamn you kids, get in my friggin' room." And he took a belt to both of us. I'm still feeling that well today. I mean, he just ripped into us. Pull your damn pants down. You stupid juvenile rats. He let us have it.
Right.
You are brothers. You fight with each other against people. You don't fight each other. That's the way it was. But but nowadays kids don't even fight. My sons, I have two sons, one 29 and 32, because they seen some videos of me, me messing with my brother and everything. And even he said, "Dad, guys, we don't fight anymore. People don't fight. They just pull out guns. They don't even know how to fight." I mean, I probably had 50 fights before I got out of grammar school in a schoolyard.
I was
50.
I mentioned this. I saw a video. I mentioned the other day. It was some like a Generation X guy talking or something, and he mentioned, and then I mentioned it to my wife, and she was like, "Fuck, you're right. Like you never see kids with casts anymore." When you grew up, and I grew up, there was always some kid who had a cast. He had a broken arm. There was broken legs. I don't think I've seen anybody with a cast in a decade since I got out of prison, for sure. Like nobody has casts. Like because I don't think because they don't climb trees, because they don't go on the house, because they don't do crazy stuff. Like to me, that was normal. They just don't do those things. They're driving around. You can't get on a bicycle or skateboard. They got elbow pads and knee pads and helmets and goggles, and I
still have fingers that aren't set right.
Right.
This is a broken finger and a fit. I have switchblade cuts. So look, that's a switchblade. When I was 15, that's a switchblade. I almost got killed. I got two switchblade cuts that have never gone away since I was 15 and 16 years old.
No, there's no way. These kids, no, that's not happening.
And that was to block the kid was coming after my face, and I blocked it, so he got my hand, and I ended up in a hospital. But they don't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking about really like throwing hands, man. We got into real fist fights, And I used to fight with my best friend every day. When I beat him in basketball, we would just get into a fist fight. It was like normal. If you got my brother Gino on the phone, he's like, "Yeah, you and Robbie Orbell fought every day." Literally fought, throwing punches at each other and It's crazy. But it was, and then the next day you're friends.
Yeah.
It's just, but yeah, it's very different now. And very, very different. But yeah, my father was a no-nonsense guy. Great father, great compassionate man. I don't even know any fathers around. Like, I mean, everybody says it about their father, but in this case, he was a great man. And the greatest thing was what he modeled to me. He modeled a man that went to work every day at 5:30. I can still remember him shaving every morning with, real shaving cream and shaving and getting up, putting on his clothes, eating the breakfast. And he did that for 25 years,
Yeah.
And
I was gonna say my father worked probably 6 days a week. Woke up in the morning, maybe dropped us off at school. Usually not. Usually just got in his car and left. Came home around 5 to 6 o'clock, maybe 6 or 7.
Right.
Monday through. You honestly worked most Sundays too. It was his whole life. Like that's just what all he wanted to do was work, and I think that's probably how he just felt being a provider was that was his job, his role. My mom raised 4 kids. He provided, and that was just very simple. They did go on vacation periodically. They would go on vacation because my mom said we have to go on vacation soon. Okay,
Right.
here's the budget.
Yes.
Plan.
Yes.
And then she would at the end of the day when he'd come home after we'd eat dinner, he'd go into his den, sit down with either the book or a newspaper or something. And my mother would come in and sit down with things that were going on in the house that she needed to ask him. Okay, here's what's going on. Boom, 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 boom. Do you can she go? What do you think? He'd go. Well, what do you think? And she'd be like, well, I think it's fine. They've been friends a long time, and I know her parents, and they're good. Yeah, okay, that's good. He would say like that was it. Like it was a little meeting. It was like another little meeting for him to determine what was going to happen and what he needed his input on. Sometimes it was agreed that you don't get. She makes those decisions. Usually it was money related, and that was it. Yeah, it was just a totally different,
Well,
world.
I could say my grandfather and my father, who I grew up right next to my grandfather, the 2 most influential men in my life, they were leaders of their own house. I mean, my father was in charge. He was the boss, and so was my grandfather. And that's I guess you could say the traditional world, and all my friends as well. And the women, most of the women, there were some exceptions to this. Like my mother, she worked when we were like 16, 17, but when we were growing up, no, she was a stay-at-home mom. They call it stay-at-home mom now. They didn't call it stay-at-home mom when
were
it was just
housewife.
it was housewife. And all my friends were the same. The mothers stayed home with the kids, and the father went to work. I mean, this is the whole area that I grew up in. So it's all different now. And
we don't have garbage men anymore. There's something else, sanitation workers. We don't have stewardesses. That's not a good word now. It's something else. They're not stewardesses. There's some.
In fact, there's more women in college now than there are men. That's kind of tragic. And also, if you went to the Dominican Republic, which I know a lot about, 90% of the classrooms are filled with women, 10% is men. It's really tragic. So everything's being flip-flopped. And, women, of course, if they're making more money, and I've had many, many clients, and I can just honestly say this, when a woman is making more money than a man, that's a bad sign for you, bro.
Yeah.
Something bad's going to happen. And on almost every case that I've ever seen, and I've had, could I say even more than 200,000 clients in my career? With very rare exceptions to this, the woman does not respect him. She might stay with him. She gets angry with him, or they end up, she just ends up leaving. And it's just not a happy marriage. Women are not designed to be the providers.
Right.
They're just not. With rare exceptions to that. I'll say rare
I
exceptions
agree.
to that. Even if she's making $30,000 or $40,000 more than you, you could see the disrespect. They'll be in my office, and she's ripping him a new butt right in front of me. So I can imagine. I know what's going on at home. It's a horror show for him. And my advice would be either make more money, or you can't do this anymore to yourself. You're emasculating yourself, dude. You're doing it to yourself. Get out of this. But you see it all the time. So back then though, the men made the money. And the women were in the house. And now all that's being flipped up. So especially the money that women are making now.
Yeah, but you also see that, what is it? Is it even like 5 more years from now? Like more than 50% of women are
going to be childless
and no
unmarried
and childless. I mean,
it's tragic.
And I love the women that are out there that act like that's oh, that's a good, that really, that's
Well, so
not-
those four women that I just showed you, I did the video with the 3 Ps. I asked them all, do you plan on having children and getting married? No. To both of those questions. No, I don't plan on getting married. No, I don't plan on having children.
That's why all these businesses are putting tons of money into, cat food and boxes of wine.
Yep.
And, because the truth is, when you're in your 50s and you start thinking, fuck, I'm old and I'm lonely, and all my friends who have kids and are married, they seem so happy, and I'm lonely, and I'm, oh, I fucked up. I should have had a kid. And when they're in their 50s and they're complaining, and now it's too late because nobody wants to date a 50-year-old woman. So,
Right.
Now you're miserable and you've got these high standards that nobody's going to meet, and you're 50 and you got no kids and no fucking husband, and you're bitching and moaning. And, you could look back and say, oh, well, I had a great career. Like, nobody's on their deathbed saying, I wish I'd spent more time at work.
Yep.
It's always, it's like, I wish I spent more time with my kids or my wife.
You're not going to, there's going to be nobody.
Yeah.
You're going to be 50 years old. There's no family left.
Yeah.
Your parents either passed away or they're going to pass
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
You have no children.
Yeah. You figure out what's important when you're laying in your bunk bed in prison, thinking,
Do you?
because nobody says, I fucking miss my Lambo. Nobody says that.
I believe it.
Nobody says that. There's always kids, my parents. That's what everybody cares about at that moment. When you're at your lowest, that's when it's suddenly your priorities become streamlined, and it becomes super, super obvious. And then you get out of prison, you say you're going to change all that, and then 2 years later you don't, and you're a douchebag again.
Right.
But
Yeah, the society's drowned that with an artificial way, the artificialness of social media. Like you have connection, but that's not real connection. Okay, so we've drowned it with more stuff, more social media. It's just this huge, constant noise that these younger people have used to replace family, but it's not the same thing. And it's not going to be the same thing. And you see the emptiness, and you see the lostness, and you see how these kids are turning to more drugs, and now these got they got a laundry list of drugs, really bad ones. And all of this stuff is because of the emptiness and the brokenness and the loneliness that I think they're feeling.
They're escaping into it, right? It's an escape.
Yeah, there's a deep hole that's going on. But anyway, this is
Very depressing. This is depressing. This has gone off the deep end. This is horrible. No, this is a horrible podcast.
No. But I have a couple of solutions for it. But
Okay.
Well, number one, I know. They're going to come at me as they already did. We got to get rid of porn. Number one, because when men are spanking the monkey,
They're not chasing women.
exactly, it's
Right.
real simple. The biology of that is real simple. And when you get the release, there's no motivation to be a provider. There's no motivation to chase women. There's no motivation to go through the difficulty of getting a woman.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult.
Or improving yourself too.
And improving yourself, right? So improving yourself, getting women, all of that's part of the same thing, right? And when you got a hard package that hey, I want to find a woman to get the proper amount of release for that, and also to give me motivation to be a provider. When you're, like you said, when you're spanking the movie, all that just gets sucked right out of you. That's that. That's one of the things that has to be done. The other thing is women cannot have access to men all over the world. That's got to stop somehow. Because women, back in the day, when I'm, let's take me in high school or college. I knew the women in my town, or maybe the town over. They knew me. The women knew the men in their town, the town over. The women knew the men in their college. And a few other people, and that's it. Now, you can get on social media and have 50,000 people from every country in the world, and you can get flown out to Dubai or Colorado or wherever if you're a woman. You have unlimited access to men. So here you got a boyfriend, and you guys are having a hard time, or you guys are working through things. I don't like him anymore. I don't want to work through this. And so you get on social media, and you message some guy over in Cancun, and you just get on a plane and go. Mm-hmm. It's too easy for women to give up on a man. It's too easy. And then also the money. So somehow, we got to make it illegal somehow. And I'm not trying to ruin anybody's business, okay? I'm really not. I'm trying to think about how to save the world, okay? Get rid of porn. And I really think you just have to get rid of the access that women have to men around the world. Now, how you do that, but I know that is the solution, because if they have this kind of access, they're just not going to be committed to a man.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I would actually throw video games in there too.
Video games.
I think video games are just fucking horrific. I just don't know anybody that's successfully playing 6 hours of video games a day that is successful. You know what I'm saying? It's too much, and it takes place of you could be spending time with your girlfriend, chasing girls, working. You know, I mean, I've people that I'm in my life that I'm just, you know, it's work. Like I've actually had a conversation with someone one time recently within the last few months that was like, well, I mean, yeah, but you know, if I get a job, then what am I going to be doing? I'm gonna be making, you know, $12 an hour, and I'm going to be bringing home what, like $100 a month, or no, $100 a day, $120 a day, and I was like, yeah, well, that's no money. You got nothing now.
Yeah, everybody started like that. We all started like this.
Of course. I said, you know what you do have is in a month you got $2,000. You're playing fucking video games. Like you get it as soon as you get a job. It's very easy to get another job. You know, you don't have that. It's like having a girlfriend. If you're married, you have a girlfriend. You no longer have the stink of desperation on you. It's very easy to go from one girlfriend to the next girlfriend. It's easy to go from one job to the next. If you show up with no job, there's a different vibe about you, and they're not necessarily wanting you working there. And now you have experience. You worked here for 6 months. Somebody wants to hire you. They know somebody else took a risk on you, and you kept that job for 6 months or a year or 2 years. You can build off of that. You know, it's kind of like being. Sometimes these people, they get married. What was his name? James Sexton. Remember the lawyer? He's a lawyer, divorce lawyer. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how I can tell you who's going to be divorced by the spectacle of their marriage. The bigger their marriage, the more they spend, the more, you know, gaudy and audacious and the more of a spectacle they create, the faster that marriage is over. He's like, the people that I know, he said, they went to the justice of the peace, got married. He said they're married for 20 years. You know, like spending a ton of money on that doesn't mean you need to be more concerned about the marriage than you are the spectacle that you show in front of all of your friends. That should not be what it is.
And you know, going back to the guys, and one guy, they ask me this a lot actually on Instagram. They say, how can I, like, getting back to that confidence thing. So I said, okay, I mean, yeah, I guess you could say I'm confident. What I would do, then they'll say, how do you develop confidence? What I would do is I would do extremely difficult things by yourself with no one's assistance successfully over time. That builds confidence that no one will be able to steal. Mm-hmm. You did extremely difficult things by yourself with nobody's help, and that will make you into a man. Mm-hmm. But now everybody's cleaning you up.
Instant.
They're cleaning you up. You have a problem, you run to mommy. You have another problem, you run to daddy. You have another problem, you run to the government. You're not becoming a man. Mm-hmm. A man is someone who now has a certain level of self-reliance. You know what I said to my two boys? I told them this, not recently, but a couple of years ago, and they were older. And I said, there was one thing that I absolutely had to give you. Did I want to give you an education? Yes. Did I want to give you, a place to live? Yes. What I wanted to give you was self-reliance. Self-reliance. And they got it. Mm-hmm. My two boys are really, one of them runs his own construction company. The other is an auto mechanic manager, manager of an auto mechanic shop. And they really are young men. And I said, that is what a man is. He is self-reliant. I don't mean that he doesn't believe he can't believe in God or anything. That's not what I mean by that. I mean that you can rely on yourself to get something done when nobody's there to help you.
Right.
That is what I'm talking about. And the generation of men that raised me were those men. And that's what they tried to do for me as well. So you don't see it in these young kids. The video games is destroying it. I mean, you're just wasting your life. Every day you're doing that. Every single day you're doing that. That is one more day that is wasted. And thank God I was smart enough, and we're talking about more, 30 years ago when my son was born, I never let them do the video games. I never let them do that. We did other things. Taught them how to play football, baseball. I threw the baseball with them. I never let them do the video games.
Yeah.
And I know I've never even played. I mean, unless we're doing a little Atari, so I don't even know what these video games are today. I have no idea.
They're extremely addictive. I won't even have one. Listen, you know why? Because when I was on the run, I bought was it an Xbox or whatever at Halo? You know, is that Xbox?
I think it's Xbox, yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't even know. And they had Halo 2 had come out, and I spent an exorbitant amount of time playing that video game to the point where I realized, like, what is happening? Like, a week's just went by, and I'm like, yeah, I can't. And after I played with it for a few months, because I mean, I was on the run.
I see.
And fraud's not a full-time job. So this became my full-time job for a few months, and then eventually I just stopped playing. I said, hey, I'm done. I took it and I chucked it. Actually, I think when I up and moved, I think I left it. But because it's a Secret Service after me. So anyway, yeah, so I knew then something's wrong. And now when I get out and I see the way these guys play it for fucking 10 hours a day, and they play it on the headphones with people all over the world, they're talking to them in the headphones, playing see, I do this. This is how old I am. These guys say. So there's no video. Now it's this. So while they're playing, like,
well, but when I was doing, they had Pong. It was
yeah.
Like,
I remember Pong.
They had Pong.
Atari.
Yeah, Atari and Pong. That's it.
And there was Space Invaders, and then there was Asteroids. Yeah. And then there was oh shoot, I forget. Anyway, yeah, Miss Pac-Man and Pac-Man. Yeah. That was high tech. That was high tech. Yeah. Yeah, it's a waste, and the problem is while you're doing that, it's all that time you are wasting is time you could be cleaning your house, you could be working out, you could be jogging, you could be training yourself to do something else that's more that gives you more confidence and makes you a living.
Yep.
I got out of prison. I've taught everything I know on to editing, YouTube, everything was all YouTube. I just started watching these videos and just watching the videos. And I just, okay, well, hold on. Hey, watch it and stop it. Okay, let me see. Okay. Wait, what did he do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it did back and forth back. I can't hire somebody. There's nobody's training you on how to edit software. You watch everything on YouTube. And so that's what I did. And eventually I was able to do all those things. And and I was an old man. I was 50 years old. That's, hadn't seen an iPhone, had never seen an iPhone. I had 13 years in prison. Went in, texting had just come out.
Wow.
It was just on the flip phone. I had the Razor. Remember the Razor?
Yeah.
The flip phone. Yeah, I had the Razor. And then I got out, and now there's iPhones. Like, I don't even know, this thing's like magic.
Yeah,
So,
you have to take the initiative yourself to see what's going on today if you're a young person, to not get absorbed in all of this nonsense. And you just have to do it yourself, because even if your parents failed you, and I tell them, I'm saying that to the parents too, especially the father. I said, for you to be talking to a man like me with this kind of disrespect, your parents, especially your father, and I don't know your situation, failed you, period. That's the way I feel about it. Because I would never talk to an older man like you're talking to me, because my father would have whipped my ass. I didn't grow up like this. You just immediately give somebody older the benefit of the doubt, and you respect them.
right.
Okay, you don't start talking about their hair or talking about that they're 4'11", or every day, and saying to them they look 80 years old, and that I got neck wrinkles. This is just disrespectful.
Listen, I've heard it all. I am laughing because I've heard it all.
And there's no honor. And how are you going to make it through life talking like this?
Well, it's the people that talk like that, behave like that. Like these are these are not successful people. These are people that are living at home, or they're barely getting, like, nobody successful talks like that.
Ever.
Nobody's successful. I would never talk. I don't talk down to people that I think are trying to make a come up. You know what I'm saying? I don't talk really down to anybody or talk bad about anybody. There's just no benefit to being rude and disrespectful to anybody at any level. It's just not a smart move. It's not going to help you, and it doesn't help. It may think it doesn't. First of all, it doesn't do any good for you to talk bad about other people. Like, that's just negative energy to you, and
terrible.
You become just kind of you're just a douchebag. And the more you get away with it, the more you do it, and the worse of a person you are. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. Also, if you want to get in touch with Mike, we are going to leave his social media links, which is Instagram and any other links he's got. We're also going to leave his contact information if you would like to donate to. I'm assuming you can donate to the orphanage, right?
Yeah, you can. On the website.
Website, yeah. We're going to leave the website so you can donate to the orphanage if you want, or you want to contact him or his organization. Once again, I really do appreciate you guys watching. Also, we're going to leave
our website in case you want to be a guest. You go to the website, go to the Be a Guest page, fill out a form, leave a video. We will get back with you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys watching. See ya.